Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Making Great Handouts with Storyboard That. I'm your host for the webinar, Richard Byrne, and thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I'm joined today by Anna Warfield, who works at Storyboard That, and I'll have her introduce herself in just a moment. But before we do that, a few logistical things that I want to cover. If this is your first webinar with me or your first webinar ever in GoToWebinar, a couple of things to keep in mind. Number one, everything you see on my screen today is being recorded, including my face right now, and everything that you hear is also being recorded. The only thing that's not being recorded is the question and answer panel. So if you hear me repeat a question, it's so that those folks who are watching the recording of this later get the benefit of hearing the entire question. Speaking of the question and answer panel, please make use of that. There is a Q&A panel built into GoToWebinar. Feel free to put in a question at any time. In fact, I see someone's already done that. Oh, Tracy and Joyce have said hello. That's what they do with that question and answer panel. Feel free to use that at any time. Thanks, Tracy. Tracy comes to every webinar I do. Thanks, Tracy. I love that you come to everything. So thank you. And finally, there are 457 people registered for today's webinar. So if we don't get to your question right away, don't worry, we will get to it. It just might not be until the end that we get to all the questions. So with 457 people, there is going to be, oh, Diane's here too. There's going to be a lot of questions. So on that note, I told you I was joined today by Anna Warfield. Anna, can you say hello to everyone? Anna will be the one to answer any questions about things like, well, anything that I can't answer, basically. She'll be answering.
Hi, I'm Anna. I work at Storyboard That. I've been here for about 3 years. Before coming to Storyboard That, I worked as a teacher in 4th grade. So I come from an education background. I am really excited to share our newest improvements with you today.
Great, thanks, Anna. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to turn off my webcam so that you can focus on my screen and not have to look at my ugly face for the next 45 minutes or so. So I'm going to turn off the webcam, but you should still see my screen, including on my screen this outline for the webinar, which I'm going to share with everyone to look at right now if you want to. You can feel free to make a copy of that Google Doc, print it out, collect it, trade it, give it to your friends, whatever you want to do with that Google Doc, you can. All right. And Dawn's here, and Dawn says, I love Storyboard That. That's awesome. Thanks, Dawn. All right, so here we go. And I can see all of you joining in right now. So if you've never used Storyboard That before, I want to point out that there are free accounts and paid accounts, and I'm going to give Anna time a little bit later to explain the details on the pricings and the features for each of those. But you can sign up for a free account. Storyboard That works well on all devices, but I find it's easiest to use on a laptop, whether that's Windows, Mac, or a Chromebook, just because it gives you more screen real estate to work with. But if you have iPads in your classroom or you just love using your iPad, it'll work on your iPad just fine. If you like to use your Android phone, it'll work on your Android phone. It's just a smaller screen, and you might find it a little trickier with a smaller screen, but it will work on all those devices. And so we're going to start today with the newest feature of Storyboard That. Storyboard That's been around for 6 years, I believe. 2012, I think, is when it launched. And I've been using it pretty much since day one. Aaron, the CEO the founder of Storyboard That, has a little story about the start of it, but he's not here today. So we're going to look at the newest feature of Storyboard That, which is creating worksheets. And I'm already signed into my account. It's my account dashboard, and there's a lot of features in here that we might have time for today, but what we're focused on right now is the new feature of creating a worksheet. I'm going to just click on that. And we have lots of worksheet templates in here for all kinds of things. And I want to point out that if you don't find a worksheet template that you like, you can build from scratch, and we'll look at how to build from scratch in a little bit. But let's pick one that I think can be used in a lot of areas, and that's the plot diagram worksheet. You could use this in obviously your language arts class, but you might also modify this in your social studies class to have students outline an event. So let's take a look at that plot diagram worksheet. And I just saw a question pop in there, or someone raised his or her hand. There we go. Okay. We'll get to that in a minute. So I have my plot diagram worksheet. We have two different templates here. Let's use the plot diagram with paragraph and go ahead and launch that. Now this template I could use as is right now, but I'm going to customize this one. I'm going to use this as a framework for a story starter for my students. So I got those templates, great question. I got those templates right in my Storyboard that dashboard. I've signed into my account, and in my account, I just created a worksheet, and I picked one of these templates. And the template I picked was plot diagram worksheet, and I used one with the paragraph below it. Now, as I was saying, you can use this as is. You can just go and say, I want to save this one and use it as is. Call it my plot diagram number 1. And we could save it and print it as is. Okay. But I want to customize it. Nothing wrong with the way it looks right now, but I want to customize it. And as I was saying, I'm going to use this as a bit of a story starter for my students. By the way, I left out my entire background in education before we get started. I taught language arts for a year before teaching social studies for the better part of 10 years. So anyway, we're going to do a little story starter here. Now you can customize any element in here. If you want to put in directions, click on the directions. And after directions, start writing the directions that you want to appear. Follow the steps to create a scary story for Halloween. Now, this is for Halloween, so let's change that to a nice orange text. Now, so those are my directions. Follow the steps to create a scary story for Halloween. And we'll just put in our introduction. Now, I want to give my students a little bit of a prompt, and that's where the 40,000 or so pieces of artwork come into the picture. Because this, what I've just done here, you could do in just about any kind of word processor. It'd be a little tricky, but you could probably do it in Microsoft Word. But what's really neat is I can go in and I can do, or I should say, I can select any of the artwork that's up here. And there are 40,000 pieces of it. I'm going to do a indoor scene. Right? Maybe we're going to have people walk into the house. And so this can be a little visual prompt for my students. I can click and drag and make that fit the space allotted, or if I wanted to leave a little space for writing in that box, I could do that. And we can customize any element you see in the scene here. I'll put in green doors, and I can change the color of the carpet and the color of the walls. So we're going to set the beginning of our scene right there. Oh, and Anna, thank you for answering Martha's question already. Great. I'll read that question aloud in a little bit. So our next scene, put in our rising action. And so they're going to walk into, here we go. I'm going to use the stairs in here, rising, get it? Rising action and stairs. Yeah. Dad jokes. So let's go in and make sure the carpet matches again. There we go. Put in my walls. Make sure I get the right color for my walls. There we go. And sometimes I'm a little challenged on my colors, so forgive me if my colors aren't perfect. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay. Now you saw there that I didn't have the exact right color chosen for me in advance, so I'm going to go in and customize this one. All right, there we go. There's my white carpet now. All right, going up those stairs. So a couple of questions that have popped up already that I want to answer before I fill out the rest of this little template. Martha asked, will this integrate with Google Classroom? And Anna already answered that one aloud or in the text. Storyboard that does have Google single sign-on and Google Classroom rostering. Yes, you can have students complete these electronically if you make a copy of it. And Joyce asked a similar question. Can they be used as a digital worksheet? Yes, they certainly can. You can make copies of it. And we'll look at how to do that a little bit later on here. So a few questions have already popped in. Great questions, and thank you for asking that. And so again, I'll do the next little piece, a rising action. And we'll put in, something else. I'm gonna have them go up to the attic of this house. And they go up into the attic. And so that's my rising action continuing. I'm going to duplicate this scene. So in the rising action, they're going to go up the stairs, they're going to go into the attic. I'm going to duplicate this particular scene because I want to use it up here at my climax. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this edit button and just duplicate it. I'm going to put it in place here. I'm going to make that a little bit larger because I want to show you one other thing you can do. You can layer these images, this artwork on top of each other. So you see that little box in the background that looks like it has some paper or packing material stuffed in the top of it. Well, I'm going to see if I can make a cat jump out of it. So up here in the upper right corner, I have a search function. I'm going to look for a cat. And I'm going to have this scary cat come rustling out of the back of it. And I can even pivot the cat. That's a black cat. And my black cat kind of jumping out there. Now, I'm going to have a little person coming up those stairs to be greeted by the cat. And let's pick a teenager. And so let's pick a teenager, and you can see all these little characters. Let's do this one here. And we can edit his pose. Okay. So let's do a side view of him. And his expression is going to be surprise. And we'll put his arms out. And we're going to have him walking up the stairs. So now he's in my scene. He's coming up the stairs. He's greeted by the scary cat. Let's change what he looks like. There we go. You can see I can change the colors on his clothing and his skin and his hair. And let's put that in as our climax. And now I'm going to use this scene over here to have them go back down the stairs. I'm going to reuse this one. And call it my falling action. Helps if I spell falling action correctly. And then finally down here, I'll reuse this one, duplicate it, and put it over here. So I've now built my entire handout, and I can have my students write in their story lines in here. This is my story starter for them. Okay. Now, they might not have enough room here, or I might want to customize this a little bit more and put in some text on each line as a little prompt and write something like introduction, so they kind of have an idea of where to write on each line or what to write on each line. And then I might do the free form text down here. And I'll position that as needed. And I can duplicate even that so I don't have to type it over and over again. And I can just continue to duplicate that and edit that one out and call it something else. And that's now in my template. All right, so you may have just seen that saved for me. I'm going to save it again. You can say save and continue, save and exit, save a copy. Let's save and continue this one. So now when I want to go to print this out, let's save and exit so I can print this out. And down below, I now see what it's going to look like as a printed item. If I've made this font too small, I only use 10-point font here, and I want to make it bigger, I'll go back in and edit. But now you can print it out. This will generate a PDF that you can then print. So you can go and print that, send it to my local printer here, save it as a PDF. Send it to that printer. We also have this option here to download any of this as, let's say, just a high resolution image. Or even as a little PowerPoint image. So there's my new plot diagram in high resolution. Now, there were a couple of questions that Anna just answered, and I want to make sure that I read those aloud so everyone can hear them. Yeah, so there are two versions of this. Some of it came in late. There's a free version and a premium version. I'm currently in the premium version. Anna will be talking about the differences between the two of them. So Tracy just asked, if you share it with students digitally, is it locked, or will they be able to edit as well? So let's take a look at that. Let's go into my dashboard. And let's take a look at my storyboards. Now, we just made my plot diagram number 1. And this is, you'll see a storyboard without an assignment. So what I'm going to do is change this and give it to my students, and I have an assignment called Tell Me a Story. And now any of my students who are a part of my class, so go back into my dashboard, I'll manage my students. Okay. You can see currently I only have 4 students in here. And these students will be able to see a copy of this. Now I can also go into manage my assignments. So I can view it on a student by student basis, or I can do a tell me a story. Okay, there's my assignment. We can view it and manage it. This gives students their own copy. Sarah, that is correct. So Tracy, the other way to do this is, let's say you downloaded it. Right? Download it as a PDF or as an image. You could then send it into your Google Classroom if you want to go about it that way. In which case, they'd have to edit the template using a tool like, well, any tool that would let them edit a PDF, or even in Google Drawings and write on top of it, something like that. They could do that if they didn't want to do it inside Storyboard that. And Anna, you can probably clarify that a little bit better at the end than I just did. All right, let's look at a different customization, different way of, not really a different customization, but a different style of worksheet and a different element to edit. We're going to use one that's common in elementary school, and that's the telling time. So we'll see here 2 different telling time worksheets. One where kids draw their hands on the clock, and the other is where they write the time. We're not going to debate the merits of teaching kids how to use analog clocks right now. I just wanted to show you some of the intricacies of editing that come up and that I know people will ask about, mostly because I asked about it. That's why I know it's going to come up. I asked about it, so I'm sure other people are going to be curious about it as well. If you look at this worksheet, I just used this template here, and the previous template that we had a choice of this template or the other time telling template. I want to put in a little customization of my own. I want to put in a little picture to represent me. So I'll use the characters up here at the top, and we'll pick a character to represent myself. Here, I'll be this person, okay? And do all kinds of customizations, or delete that one. I can use one of the other ones here. So I'll go in and put that one in, and I'll just quickly edit, make me happy. And I'm having a full belly laugh right now. So there we go. So I'll just edit that. You can put any of these elements in anywhere you want. But what I'm going to do is, all of these clocks were set to 3 o'clock, and they're all in black and white. I'm going to color code for my students the hour hand and the minute hand. I'm going to leave the minute hand as is, and I'm going to change the hour hand. So I'm going to click on the hour hand, and I'm going to color code that one to be red. And now I'm going to reposition it so that not everything's at 4 o'clock or at 3 o'clock. I'm going to make this one be at 4 o'clock. And likewise over here, if I want to go and make this be a different time, we can click and drag and make this be some other time of day. So let's go and click on those. Let's spin that. There we go. And need to spin a little bit more. So these little individual elements can all be customized for each one of your worksheets. And then again, we can just go in and save that as is. Telling time with Mr. Burns, what we'll call that one. Right. So I showed you that mostly so you can see that you can customize any little element that you see in a worksheet, in a pre-made worksheet template. You can change. You can customize the color, the orientation of the elements, the size of the elements. Anna just gave a good little tip there. Use shift plus left right arrows to rotate, which is probably a little bit easier than what I was doing with my mouse. But I'm gonna go back into my dashboard. Let's look at what you can do working from scratch, working without a template. So rather than using the template here, I'm just going to create from scratch a storyboard. Now, a storyboard that by default gives you 3 frames to work in. Regardless of which kind of account you have, your default is a 3-frame story to work with. In the bottom left corner, you'll see storyboard that layout or storyboard layout. If you just wanted to customize the cells, you go in and just change the cells like that, and you still have 3 frames, and you could work with it that way. And this on its own could be used as a little know, want, learn chart. There is a know, want, learn chart template in the gallery, but if you wanted to do it this way, you could as well. And I've just changed in my fill, and then you can use that. But you can also go in and let's make a new storyboard. We use storyboard layout options. There are ones for blank worksheets, posters, other handouts. You'll see a timeline one. I'll show you the timeline in just a minute. What I'm going to use right now is this grid option. And you can see I can use any of these grids as I want. Or if you don't want to use any kind of template at all, we'll create a new one from scratch. I'm going to change to a completely blank layout. And this completely blank layout is going to be worksheets and handouts. I'm going to do it in in landscape mode. I'm going to use right now. By the way, landscape mode is one of those times where having a little bit bigger screen is helpful. I said at the beginning, all these things will work on iPads and Android tablets, but it's sometimes easier on a bigger screen. Working in landscape mode is one of those times. Question just popped in there. Okay. Yep. So Joyce asked a question, can you drop it in slides and add text boxes? Yes, you certainly can. And Kim, hey Kim, thanks for joining. Kim asked a question, are these pre-made templates from Storyboard? Yep, they are, and Anna included a link. Anna, if you don't mind putting that link in the chat for everyone, that would be great. Anna has a link for where you can go directly to the templates, so that would be great. And I think she's just dropped that in there. Oh, there it is. Good. Thanks. All right. So I'm using a completely blank canvas right now. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to change out some elements here. I'm going to work from scratch uh, with just this blank line here. And I'll use that as my name line, or I can use this one as my name line. Or maybe I don't even want kids to put their names on it. I don't know. So there's the name line. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to use this one for my little genetics lesson. And so I'm going to use this side-by-side cell. I'm going to click and drag to make it a little bit larger. And we're going to figure out if our kids are going to have blonde hair or brown hair. I'm going to duplicate this so it's the exact same size. I'm just going to stack them on top of each other. And now let's go back in and add some characters. I'm going to use this character again. Reason being that this character is actually based on my likeness. In fact, I even signed a waiver for it. Anna, did you know that? Did you know I had to sign a waiver to be included in this for my likeness to be reused? Right, so I'm going to use my skin color and my hair. That's me. And I'm going to duplicate myself again. Of course, I did that 5 years ago when I was younger and thinner. I'm going to use that one. And now we're going to use one that represents my partner. And let's find one that's close to her. Let's use this one. And she has blonde hair and blue eyes. And we'll put her in that clothing for now. And we'll duplicate her as well. Now, you can probably all see where I'm going with this. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to put in a little text. I'll put in a text box. Change my font to capital B. And I want to use a color to match. Let's use brown. That's not really brown. Let's try to find brown. There it is. There's brown. And add my capital B into that box. Now, I'm going to duplicate this one. And I'm going to change it to lowercase b. And let's change the color and make it kind of blondish, yellowish. There we go. And now I'll duplicate that one and reuse it down here. So here's my little Punnett Square worksheet for my kids to do their genetics and figure out if we'll have blonde-haired kids or brown-haired children. Okay. So there's my little template all done up. Let's save it. The great thing about this is I can just print it out. Print this out and have kids fill it out, fill it in, or fill it out digitally. But I like this one as a quick little handout, something practical, and it just makes it, we could have done this on notebook paper. In fact, I did do this on notebook paper, I think in 9th grade or 10th grade. I can't remember when. It was many, many years ago that I did this on notebook paper. this is just a little bit more of a visual representation, makes it look nicer, a little more engaging for kids. If you really want to get into the engagement factor of visuals, my friend Tony Vincent does great work on visuals, and he posts them all on Twitter all the time. So follow Tony on Twitter if you're into visuals and the importance of visuals. Follow what Tony does online. All right, now one last little thing I'm going to do here in Storyboard and then we're going to move on to the last little piece, which I mentioned in the promo for this, which is about, if you want to reuse this for your entrepreneurial spirit, we'll show you how to do that right now too. I'm going to do one more little storyboard. And this time in my layout, we're going to go in and use the timeline model. If you're a social studies teacher, one of the things that you'll probably appreciate about this is that the timelines do support both BCE and CE format for dates. A lot of commercial timeline tools don't do that for some reason, and I couldn't tell you why they don't do it, but they often do. And you can specify how detailed you want to be. Do I use months, days, hours, minutes, seconds? You can break it all the way down. And so let's add those cells. Now I obviously need to go in and edit. I may need to go in and edit my timeline dates. Let's put in my months again. I don't want everything to happen in January. Let's do something in February, something in March. And you can add more cells if you want to by clicking on the add cell option. Let's update that. So now I have my January, February, March. Now you can leave it here as just something like highlight of the month. And have kids do highlights of the month as a little reflection throughout the school year. Now, it doesn't have to be a traditional timeline in the sense of, on this date, the Revolutionary War began, and on this date, the Battle of Bunker Hill. We don't have to do it that way. And you can keep adding cells until you have added all the cells you need. And if your kids want to customize this, make their own, maybe the highlight for them in the month of January was something that happened at the basketball court. Drop that into place, and they can then go in and add a basketball player. No more. We only have the basketball. We don't have the basketball player. So we can take a character and customize him or her to be the basketball player. And so there's our highlight of the month. You can add as much as you like to each one of those scenes and layer on top of them. And I just saw another question popped in, and then we're going to jump into the next part. Yes, you can layer all these things on top of each other. Yep. And you can also move them front and back, or rotate them. Now, rotating a ball wouldn't make a whole lot of sense, but if you wanted to rotate, let's say, one of these textable pieces, do a comic one. We'll do, something like that. And you need to rotate it. Just click the angle at which you want to rotate it. Of course, I just deleted it there. Or put that one in. You can flip it around however you need. So you can do that, and you can do that with any piece of the artwork. I just didn't do it with the basketball because if you rotate a basketball, it's still round. It wouldn't make sense to rotate a round object. All right, now I'm going to wrap up today by sharing some tips for folks who would like to make their own worksheets, make their own handouts, or even make their own templates for games and game boards. You could do that in Storyboard that, or you want to do a printout for a story cube. You can do things like that. And you want to, and you're really proud of it, and you want to sell it, and make a little money on Teachers Pay Teachers or something like that. I'm going to give you a couple of little tips about that. And I have it listed down here at the bottom. First of all, Storyboard that, Anna and Aaron and I talked about this a few weeks ago. Storyboard that does encourage teachers to use these design tools to make materials to sell online. In fact, making great templates like this is one of the ways that a lot of teachers do put a little extra money in their pocket, or a little side money in their pocket. Teachers Pay Teachers is free to sign up for. They do take a pretty big cut of the sale, a commission of the sale. I think it's about 40% of the commission. But you can sign up for free, and you can upload any of your materials that you've made on Storyboard that. The only watermark that you'll see is just a little Storyboard that down in the bottom right-hand corner. It doesn't impair anyone from using it. It's not a big label across it. It's just in the bottom right corner, and you'll see it there. And you can upload those to your Teachers Pay Teachers account, and you can sell those materials. I mean, if I wanted to go into Teachers Pay Teachers right now and upload one of my own, I could. If I wanted to use my want to go in and sell a product. I can go in and add another product into my Teachers Pay Teachers account. You can see I have 0 in this particular account. But I can go in and let's say I want to sell another item. Well, let's go in and add my new product. We'll just call this one my scary story starter. Now, one of the things that you should know about Teachers Pay Teachers is you don't have to actually sell anything. If you just want to give stuff away for free through Teachers Pay Teachers, you can. And the benefit of doing that is that you do have a better record of who's using your materials, and you can kind of keep track of that. Put in your description and go ahead and upload it. Now, one of the things about and I don't use Teachers Pay Teachers for my sales of materials for my webinars and courses. I use another platform, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But regardless of what platform you decide to use to sell any of these materials, one of the marketing tips that I've learned over the years, often the hard way, is the idea of bundling, the bundling philosophy. And by that, I mean, rather than just trying to sell one individual product or one individual item, bundle it with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, 10 other things at a price that is similar to or equal to the price of an individual item. So, for example, let's say you had 10 worksheets and you wanted to sell them all for $1.50 each, okay, or $1.99 each. Okay. While you might sell 10 of them individually, you'll probably in the long run make out better by putting 5 or 10 of them together in a bundle for $1.99. The reason being that people think they're getting a better deal, and they are getting a better deal. And you might feel like you're losing out on $8 by doing it that way, but really you're going to get more sales than you would have if you had tried to sell them all individually. And in the long run, you'll work out much better. A more concrete example of this from my own life, Some of you purchased it from me. This past summer, back in June, I put on sale 5 webinars for $25. Normally, I charge $20 each for them for my online trainings. And by putting them together in a bundle, I sold more of that bundle than I did all my other webinars combined in the previous semester. So by bundling them together, I made out by putting them all together in that way. And to that end, Storyboard that actually does that. And this is one of those things I learned the hard way, and also learned a little bit from Aaron, the founder of Storyboard that. The Storyboard that does have a Teachers Pay Teachers store where if you don't want to make your own stuff, you can go and buy it from them. And they are putting out a big sale tomorrow of all of their stuff in bundles. And Anna, you had some questions about that. Thanks for a minute. Right, the premium for Teachers Pay Teachers premium is only 20% of your sales. Yep, I'll show you how to make story cubes, Marissa. I'll show you how to make a story cube. I'll do that right now. In fact, I'll do that right now. So Storyboard that does have a Teachers Pay Teachers store, and they do sell bundles and bundles and bundles of stuff, and they're all going on sale at a huge discount tomorrow. Anna, what is the price for the huge discount tomorrow? Can you tell people that?
$1
for everything.
for all of our worksheet bundles.
All right, cool. All right, so someone just asked me about the story cube. That's a great template. That's one of that's any of you who looked at the pictures of any of the pictures in the blog post announcing this webinar, what you saw was the story cube that Anna made and took pictures of. That was hers. So let's go in and create a storyboard. We're going to make a cube, storyboard cube right now. So we're going to search worksheets, templates, and you'll see there's the cube layout. Now, if I were to just drag and drop that into the default, that's not going to work, right? So what I need to do is I need to change that layout. And in this case, the layout is probably best in portrait. And depending on your printer that you have available to you, you might want to do either big poster, small poster, or just worksheet size 8.5 by 11. Again, depends on the printer that you have available to you, because this cube is going to work. It's going to be printed out. Right? But either way, do it in portrait mode. And if you have access to a printer that will support big paper, by all means, please do it in big paper. It just gives kids more room to work with. So we'll use portrait, blank portrait, click and drag that into place. And now there's a little button called stretch to fill. Automatically filled it in. Then you have text options, and you can fill in the text for each area. So there's text area 1, you see down here 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can fill it in text area 1. In a blog post I wrote last week, I suggested just if you wanted to turn it into a die and make sets of dice for story starters, do something like noun, and we could do bigger font for that. And so now I have a noun. Or if you wanted to put in along with a noun, let's say you want to put in a little character, okay, or a shape. Let's do a little character. Or and our character could even be something like that. an animal. And again, you can stretch to fill. Oop, let's undo that one. So that's now my character. And you can modify each one of those little cells. If you didn't want to use the built-in text tool for text options here, you can go into your own textable. And so you can now write inside that text. The verb that way. And then when you're done, make sure you save it. And you can print it and then cut it out and fold on the lines. And a couple of more questions just popped in, so let's handle those. Someone asked about story. So yeah, the story cube, to clarify what this is something that's designed to be printed out and then folded. It's not something that's intended to be filled out online by students. You could have students filled out online, but it's more designed to be something that actually gets printed out. It's designed to be a physical object. So if you're going to put it in a place like Teachers Pay Teachers, you need to be clear in writing out your description that it's designed to be a printed material that requires some assembly. All right, the last little piece of the outline here mentions that Teachers Pay Teachers isn't your only option for product sales if you want to sell things that you've made with Storyboard that. Gumroad.com is a service that I've used for selling all kinds of things. You could sell simple digital handouts, things that you've made with Storyboard that. You can sell video downloads. You can even sell registrations for webinars, or you can even sell registration for a live event. You can, if you can imagine it, you can sell it through Gumroad. It can be as simple or as complex as you want. You'll see in the pricing, the minimum pricing is $10 a month with a small transaction fee. So it's a pretty minimal cost. So if you're someone who's using Teachers Pay Teachers Premium, you actually make out better on your sales this way than you do with Teachers Pay Teachers Premium. But so Gumroad, if you wanted to sell something on Gumroad, I'll go into my personal account that I use. I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a new product. We'll add a product, upload it, and we can add in anything we want to it. My new handout, upload my file, and we can go in and say something like this. There it is. Customize it, and you can upload your cover image. Now, the neat thing about this is that any of your products will have their own standalone web page. So if you don't even, Gumroad is great if you wanted to start your own store and you don't have a blog or a website. Gumroad is great because everything you make is going to have its own standalone page. And there's the default pricing. You can change your pricing. Default pricing is $20. So everything will have its own standalone page, and it will have its own standalone. You'll have your own standalone store as well through Gumroad. So at a little bit lower cost than Teachers Pay Teachers Premium in terms of transactions. So just wanted to point out there's other options besides Teachers Pay Teachers for selling your things. If you want to get into more detail on Gumroad and selling things online, I actually do teach a class on that. Just goes into much more detail. In fact, about 50 people took that class this past spring. So if you're interested in that, send me a note and I'll be happy to share that with you. Anna, I would love to have you weigh in on a couple of these questions about Storyboard That pricing and Storyboard That features. So I'm going to turn it over to you for just a moment, and we'll field any other questions that come in.
All right, sounds great. Let's see. So one question was guessing that classes and assignments are only part of the premium version, and that is correct. It is only part of the premium version. However, our free trial is for 2 weeks and does allow you to have every feature available in the premium version. And let's see, if you go to the top right, Richard, to pricing. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have that on your teacher dashboard because you're already paying.
Yep. Hold on. Let me open it up in a new menu, and you'll be able to see it. So there we are.
Great. And we have all sorts of pricing options. This pop-up shows you can purchase a personal account. As a teacher, you don't want that. You want for teachers in schools, or you can close the pop-up.
Yeah.
So we do suggest that you take a free trial to make sure it's something that you want. And because we have the unlimited use for the free trial, you can try out whatever you want. But as for pricing, just close the pop-up. Here we go. We have options for single teachers, but we also have options for departments or groups of teachers. Single teacher options, you would go by the number of students and you'd be paying an amount per month. Per month on the left is every month, and then per month on the right, you'd be billed annually, but paying $5.99 per month. And then the department and school pricing, thank you. You can do either by student, so perhaps you'd have 1,000 students or 500 students, and this tool here will show you how much you'd have. And if you put in the number of teachers on the right side, it will show you which one is better. And likely, if you have a lot of students, you might want to be going with the teacher accounts because they can all share students within the Storyboard That accounts. Did I say that right? I don't think I said that right.
Yeah, you got it right. All right. So a couple other quick little things that I want to point out. Sorry, Anna, not to cut you off.
Quite all right.
No, actually, I'm going to bring it right back in. I do want to point out one of the features that I did not use today that I think is useful and is worth paying for a lot, and is the option for managing your student accounts. That's a huge thing for so many teachers, particularly if you work with kids who are under 13. The option to be able to manage your student accounts, I think, is very much worth it. For if you try it out for a couple of weeks and you think you want to use this tool, the option to manage your student accounts is fantastic. So I just want to point that out. Sorry, Anna, I didn't mean to cut you off. And you want to tell us one more time about the sale that's happening tomorrow on the Teachers Pay Teachers store?
Absolutely. Very excited about this. We have, I believe, 37 different worksheet bundles of at least 20 pages each that will be going on sale for $1. So some of them are regularly priced at $8, $10, $19 tomorrow, and the next day you'll be able to get them for $1 a piece.
Cool. All right. So, and if you want to, And if you just want to get the free Epic download, the free Epic Hero poster, which I think I've downloaded probably 75 times in my life now, uh, you can now you can go and get that for free right now. And I think it's cool. Yeah, so that's pretty neat. And last but not least, there was a question about, will all this information be available in a printout? Yes. So later this evening, I will be sending out a copy of the outline that I used today. And I'll also be sending out a link to access the recording of today's webinar. And that recording link, you can, from that recording link, you can go back and watch this as many times as you want. You can share it with your friends. You can share it on the internet with whoever you want to share it with. So you will see that email from me later tonight. So thanks so much for joining us. Anna, do you have any last words?
If you have any comments or questions, if you need help using Storyboard That, please feel free to email me at anna@storyboardthat.com. I am happy to answer any questions or show you a few tricks.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for joining us. I hope you found a couple of new things to try out. And please feel free to pass along any and all of this information to all of your friends. Thanks everyone. Have a great school year. And I wish you all the best to make it the best school year you've had yet. Thanks. Have a great evening.
Thanks, Richard.